Adesina Koiki here at Madison Square Garden for Big East Media Day. We are concentrating on the ladies now, and we're concentrating on the champions from last season, the DePaul Blue Demons. Pleased to be joined by Doug Bruno, year number 30 at DePaul University in terms of being a head coach. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
I love this job. I love coaching basketball, so yes, it does fly.
We're going to start with baseball first. I know there has to be so much excitement with the Chicago Cubs. I don't know if you're that much of a baseball fan, but it has to be something to be in the Chicago area as the Cubs are doing what they've been doing all season long.
We're very excited. I am a Cub fan. My 6 children are Cub fans. My 8 grandchildren are Cub fans, so we're really excited about what the Cubs are doing. And Joe Madden, people don't realize it, but he really is a women's basketball coach. You didn't know that, but women's basketball coaches have been having jammy parties for a long time.
Have you gotten to talk with Coach Madden personally?
Actually, I've not yet, but he's really doing a great job of coaching this team.
Last season, winning the Big East, going into the NCAA tournament as a 9 seed, and winning in the first round against the University of Minnesota. Is this conference fighting perception maybe? Winning the Big East, but being a 9 seed and having Seton Hall making teams like St. John's missing the cut line by that much in Villanova as well. Is there a perception battle that this league is fighting along with the other 9 teams that you have to go up against during conference season?
The Big East is a great league. It really is a special league. We have great teams, we have great players, great coaches, and we just have to keep grinding away. November and December are very important months. That's where you play the non-conference schedule that's going to prepare you both for the Big East, but it's also going to either win you into the NCAA tournament or keep you out of the NCAA tournament. So it's very crucial that we have a good month of November, a good month of December, and that we all schedule great teams.
Now, you come into the season, 3 returning starters, 11 letter winners, but in all different sports. Just because you have more starters back than not, and that you have a lot of letter winners back, doesn't necessarily mean the same continuity will be there. Each season is its own entity. How do you assure and ensure that the players may not fall into a false sense of security that there's so many players back from a team that was successful last season?
Well, we're really honored to be named number 1 preseason, but it's meaningless. We've not played a game yet. We talk to the players every year about the difference between previews, which are meaningless, and reviews, which are lasting for our memories forever. So we want reviews, not previews. And I think Janice Jenkins is our fifth-year senior point guard leader, and Megan Podkova, who was Big East, all Big East and most outstanding player in the Big East tournament last year, along with Jessica January, give us a great foundation to build around to overcome the loss of Britney Rinko, who was the player of the year in this league last year that we're losing. Also, I think the key to the season is the 4 players then that have to step up. Brooke Schulte has to step up. She had a nice year last year, but she's got to be stronger this year. 2 sophomores that had real strong finishes last year, Ashton Millender and Marte Grays, are going to have to play well for us. And then we still have 2 other players, Lauren Prochaska, who has not seen a lot of action yet, but is showing well in practice, and Brandy Harvey-Carr, our 6'4", big girl from Camden, New Jersey. That's our team right now, and that's who we got to get it done with.
And your not necessarily philosophy, but for the past few years, many years, your teams have done so well and have been so offensively efficient as well, scoring almost 90 points per game in conference play last year. What do you owe your offensive philosophy to? What is your offensive philosophy and strategies, and how is that developed over time?
Well, you work very hard to get the ball. That's where defense and rebounding comes in. So working hard to defend and rebound is important to us. It doesn't always look like that, and we're not always credited for defense because we score so many points. You can't score unless you shoot. So we shoot the ball fast. We shoot the ball quickly. Our players are known to, I give them the greenest green light in America. So they're permitted to shoot the ball when they're open and not overthink what is a perfect shot. So we are aggressive to score the ball. We are aggressive to shoot the ball. And we work very hard on the defensive side of the ball to get more possessions to be able to shoot the ball.
I find it so interesting that asking the question about offense and 87 points per game, the first thing you mentioned is defense and rebounding. I don't think a lot of people would even have that connection immediately, that's the first thing that you would think about when talking about offensive efficiency is defensive efficiency.
Well, in basketball, I try to tell our players every day that defense is nothing but offensive behavior when the other team has the ball. Just because the other team has the ball doesn't mean you're not still on offense. You can have offensive behavior just even though they have the ball. So, I mean, there's two types of teams that score. One scoring type team doesn't care about defense and they lets the opponent score. Another type, I like to think that we are that type. We're trying to defend you. We're working hard to defend you. We're throwing different schemes at defending you to make the game go faster, but still we're trying to stop you and make you miss shots. So that's still a big part of what we do.
There are rules changes in women's basketball, probably the most notable going away from the 2 20-minute halves to the 4 10-minute quarters, timeouts in the final minute, advancing the ball. Do you think this will advance the women's game even more, these rules changes this year?
I like the 4 quarters, not because of the break at the 10-minute mark. The 4 quarters is all about the 4 bonuses, that there's going to be 4 bonuses in every game, that you have to work your way to the bonus 4 times, and you have to work to keep your opponent off the bonus 4 times. I think that's the key to the 4 quarters. I think people aren't really tracking on that. I am a big fan of the one-on-one. We're losing the one-on-one. It's all going to 2-shot fouls. That's going to be a big change as well. There used to be 3 one-on-ones a half. If you were able to get to the bonus, you were going to have 3 one-on-ones. Now there are no one-on-ones. So those are 2-shot fouls. So it's going to put a premium on the understanding of getting to the bonus and keeping your opponent off the bonus. I think that's the key to that rule. The end of the game rule, advancing the ball, I think that's a little bit. I'm a little bit indifferent toward it. Somebody that's as great from the sideline as Harry Peretta has got to love that rule because he's a great sideline coach. But in analyzing most basketball teams and most basketball out-of-bounds plays from the side, they are not scoring at a real high efficiency. I mean, I get that you can move the ball into the front court without stopping the clock, by stopping the clock. But I mean, it's still, I'm not overly obsessing about that rule. I think it was kind of a gimmicky rule by the NBA, a good gimmicky rule. It's good for the fans to be able to keep the game a little bit more on their edge at the end. But I'm not overly concerned about that one.
And then there's I believe the 10 seconds, the backcourt count getting into the front court and not having the count reset as well during timeouts or balls being deflected out of bounds.
That's where it does reset on timeouts.
It does, sorry.
That's why I think I'm glad that they were sharp enough to put in that the count has to continue on certain situations, but the timeout buys the coach a whole new 10 seconds. So I disagree with that. If you're working your butt off in the backcourt, as we do to defend people, and the count gets to 8 or 9, why should they be able to call timeout and get a new 10? That makes no sense to me.
You mentioned some of the players that have to step up even more or just expand on their roles from last season. You mentioned Megan Podkova winning the most outstanding player of the tournament, and she really came on towards the end of the season. Not to say that she didn't do well at the beginning of the season. What are you expecting from her in terms of carrying over her momentum from the end of last season going into this season?
Well, Megan's a very versatile player, and she's got the ability to score from the floor, but she's also got the ability to score with her back to the basket. So we just need Megan to pick up where she left off last year. If she does that, she'll be fine.
And Britney Rinko being drafted in the WNBA, you lose her, one of the great players in the history of this conference, with almost 2,000 points. She made it eclipse 2,000. I think she was right around near 2,000 points. Sometimes in college basketball, there's a star player that graduates, but the supporting cast comes, and that team may do even better the next year, even after the star player leaves, but everyone comes back. Is that something that you've noticed? Is that a phenomenon? And how do you have a team possibly lose a quote-unquote star player, have a lot of the supporting cast back, and maybe even better than the season before?
Well, first of all, I don't think you replace Britney Rinko. She was just too special to us in our program. She did too many great things for us to think that you're going to replace her. At the same time, you have to figure out how to be productive, and I think our team is figuring out that how to be more collectively productive to replace. You're not going to replace Britney with one player stepping up and doing what Britney did, because those were special talents that only Britney had. But I think collectively, yeah, you're going to see us. That's how we're going to have to be able to replace Britney. And I think Shanice Jenkins has been kind of working in the shadows here, is a lot stronger player than people realize. Just January's getting better. Megan Pitkoa. And again, I'm really excited about Ashton Millender and Marte Grace. These two sophomores are really, really special. And Brooke Schulte's a scoring person, too. So, I mean, we're going to have a lot of scoring weapons out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all melts together.
To be so woven in the fabric of Chicago basketball, and Chicago takes its basketball very seriously. Do you think about it and how special it is to be such an institution in Chicago, in basketball, in a city that takes its basketball very seriously?
Well, I really am proud to have come from Chicago, grew up in Chicago, and never have left Chicago. I'm one of the only coaches in Division I basketball, men or women, who's never left their hometown. I still live in the same Chicago two-flat, 500 steps from Loyola's gym door up in Rogers Park. That I've lived there 35 years. So, I really love Chicago, believe in Chicago, and believe in Chicago basketball. I was blessed to play for great coaches like Ray Meyer and Frank McGrath, my assistant college coach, and Gene Sullivan, who coached at Loyola Chicago. These are guys that are great, great coaches, so I was blessed to have them. And, I just love Chicago basketball. Excited for Dave Lato and our men. I think they're going to be great again.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. That was going to be my last question. Having Dave Lato come back to DePaul University, where he did such a great job, took him to the NCAA tournament in 2004. To have Dave Lato back and his success that he had at DePaul and being back there, that has to be a big boost, an infusion of energy and life to the men's team and to the university in general.
Dave has done a great job. He did a great job when he was with us 10 years ago, but you can just feel the excitement, the energy, how our men's basketball program is improving, and I'm convinced, I firmly believe that he's going to really get this basketball men's team back on track.
Doug Bruno, it has been a pleasure talking basketball with you. Thank you so very much for joining us, and I hope to see you with a Cubs jersey sometime soon, supporting the Cubs. But Coach Bruno, thank you so very much for the time. Best of luck and success to your Blue Demons in the 2015-2016 season.
Thank you so much.